Good Wednesday afternoon, and thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. This afternoon, St. Paul is working with an outside law firm to investigate allegations of whether Mayor Kare sexually harassed city employees. The investigation stems from a formal complaint lodged by Police Chief Axel Henry. In this memo we obtained, Henry's attorney claims Her texted inappropriate comments to city employees. Mayor Her was sworn in at the beginning of this year, a few months before these allegations were first made. The chief's lawyer, Chris Maddle, writes the sexual harassment accusations extend beyond isolated incidents, and Chief Henry is stepping forward to protect his team, since some of it was reportedly directed at officers. Maddle also now is asking the city to perform what's called a full file system extraction of each of Mayor Her's phones to get data from emails, app settings, and even potentially deleted information. In a statement late last night, a city spokesperson told us the mayor has deep respect for city employees and regrets any unintended impact of her actions. Take a look at these brand new numbers from the National Weather Service on the tornado that ripped through the Fox Cities Monday afternoon. They've now rated the storm an EF3 with wind speeds up to 140 miles per hour. The tornado was on the ground for 20 minutes, creating a path of destruction 12 miles long. People in the area described the damage like a war zone. This afternoon, the governor of Wisconsin declared a state of emergency. Multiple fire services, law enforcement, public works, and volunteer organizations are on the ground helping with recovery. Nearly 6,000 people there are still without power. If you're thinking about heading north, some good news this afternoon. Trails End Campground in the Superior National Forest is open again after those huge wildfires. Officials say there's been enough rain lately to suppress fire conditions. It comes just days after officials announced a partial reopening of the boundary waters. 41 different entrance points in the central and eastern part of the BWCA will reopen for day and overnight use tomorrow. Permits for all other entry points have been canceled through August 3rd. New help is now available for people recovering from the tornado that touched down near Detroit Lakes earlier this month. Minnesota Realtors secured a $20,000 disaster relief grant for homeowners and renters affected by the EF2 tornado. Qualifying households can get up to $1,000 for temporary housing or property damage. Applications are open now and must be submitted by September 9th. New this afternoon, Dr. Anthony Fauci is pleading the fifth to a series of questions from the Senate's Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. The committee, chaired by Senator Rand Paul, subpoenaed the now retired Fauci to question him about his role in the nation's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Paul has previously tried to prosecute Fauci for his actions.
Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
Today's hearing comes after the committee published more than 1,000 pages from Fauci's personal diary, detailing his concerns about the pandemic and frustrations with the government's response. I-35E northbound is back open right now after a rollover crash blocked the lanes for about an hour overnight. Take a look at this video from the scene. You can see a truck flipped upside down with debris spread across the lanes. It happened in White Bear Township near County Road H2. We're still waiting for details from the State Patrol about how many people were involved and how they're doing. Well, it's a spot in Lakeville that locals know for all the wrong reasons. A roundabout that's seen hundreds of crashes in just a couple years. The double-lane roundabout sits at the intersection at Kenwood Trail and 185th Street. It's been around for more than a decade, and despite several attempts to modify it, nothing's helped. Cecilia Koparanyan has more on what city leaders are doing to fix it.
Behind me is the most crash-prone intersection in Dakota County. If you live in Lakeville, you know what I'm talking about. Originally, the roundabout was installed to fix major traffic issues from a stoplight, but now, decades later, the intersection is still causing problems.
What started as a solution is now a new problem.
The intersection of Kenwood Trail and 185th Street West has been an issue for years, and it still is.
We will hear them when we're sitting on lunch hour. You hear kind of a crash and squeal.
Sherry Prouty works at a dentist right next to the roundabout, just off Highway 35 in Lakeville. Her day includes patients, note-taking, and car accidents.
They pretty much happen daily.
This has been a hot issue in the city of Lakeville for about a decade now.
Dan Walter has been a city council member since 2023, but the roundabout's legacy goes far before that.
The county has tried a number of things to try to mitigate it, to try to improve traffic safety, and none of them have really impacted the numbers.
With about 5,000 drivers going through every day, Dakota County says close to 430 crashes happened from 2023 to 2025. That equals just about one every other day.
I think it's not understanding the roundabout because it is a double lane and you go out to a double lane.
Prouty has been in Lakeville a long time, enough to remember why the roundabout was installed in the first place.
It was stoplights there and traffic was always backed up.
She says backups would cause accidents, but usually more severe, like rollovers.
There was a lot of accidents and they were more serious accidents.
But Walter says the new solution might be the old one.
I would say the most radical is to move it back to a four-way stoplight.
I kind of have mixed emotions both ways because I saw what it was before and how many serious accidents that were there. Something has to be done.
The city and the county are working on it. In Lakeville, Cecilia Koperanian, Kare 11 News.
U.S. Labor Department leaders say they've recovered more than $600,000 in back pay for employees of a Minnesota restaurant. It stems from an investigation into the companies behind New York Gyro after the employer said they didn't keep track of hours employees worked. Labor leaders say the company withheld overtime pay and that one employee made less than minimum wage. New York Gyro has 9 locations across the state, including 3 in Minneapolis and 3 in St. Cloud. Well, it's a parasite many of us had probably never heard of until it started making thousands of people sick. Right now, the U.S. is dealing with its largest Cyclospora outbreak on record. But what does that outbreak mean for Minnesotans? Here's Gordon.
What exactly is Cyclospora?
Yeah, Cyclospora is a parasite that is only found in humans.
And only spread through human fecal matter, according to Amy Johnston, who is a food safety educator with the University of Minnesota Extension. She says most Cyclospora outbreaks happen when sewage gets into a water source that is used to water crops. And when people eat those crops, they get sick.
Really explosive, watery diarrhea, cramping, sometimes weakness, and all of those can then lead to dehydration.
The CDC has confirmed nearly 4,200 cases of cyclosporiasis so far. Another suspected 7,400 cases are out there, but have not been confirmed through laboratory testing. The Minnesota Department of Health says 98 cases have been confirmed in Minnesota, but none of them have been linked to this outbreak. The agency has been tracking Cyclospora for more than 25 years, and officials say the number of cases they're seeing right now in our state is normal for a typical year.
Unfortunately, with Cyclospora, we can't wash it away. The only way to inactivate or destroy the parasite is to cook that produce to 158 degrees Fahrenheit.
Johnston still recommends washing your fresh produce because it may help. And for lettuce and cabbage, she recommends throwing away the first layer or 2 of leaves.
That's all a great practice to minimize risk.
An FDA investigation has linked the outbreak to iceberg lettuce grown in central Mexico through Taylor Farms de Mexico. The company voluntarily recalled that product earlier this month.
Thankfully, in Minnesota, we use mostly well water for growing crops. That definitely helps to minimize risk, and farmers do have to get their well water tested.
Johnston says there is a lot of misinformation online about how to protect yourself.
I've unfortunately seen some things about, using bleach on their produce, or, soaking in hot water.
She says bleach is never a safe way to clean your produce, and hot water can actually cause contaminants to move further into your produce. which is why she recommends cold water and a scrub brush for fruits and veggies with skin.
I think that folks should, not be scared to eat produce. It's the time of year when fresh produce is at its peak and its bounty, and we definitely don't want to miss that.
Another fact to keep in mind is that out of thousands of confirmed cases, the CDC says only about 100 people have been sent to the hospital with cyclosporiasis nationwide. And so far, no one's died from it. That's why health officials are encouraging people to be careful, but please not give up on fresh produce altogether because you're worried about getting sick. Stick with us. More news and weather's coming up after the break.